Welcome to another video in the Aduro video series. Today, I'm having an interview with Penny Queen. Penny, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this morning?
Good, very good. So you have you've been involved in this sector. You have a forum. You have a YouTube channel. So talk a little bit about who you are first.
Well, at the very basic, I'm an investor in clean technology and disruptive technology stocks. So I spend a lot of time digging through everything that is, on the market, things that haven't been listed yet, and I'm looking for things that will actually change the world and at the same time make money for investors. Uh, I run a large forum across social media. I have somewhere around 15,000 followers, and I operate in a unpaid fashion. So everything I put out is, I'm only going to make money if the company goes up in value. And so I spend a lot of time on research. And when it comes to clean energy, it really takes a very deep dive to understand. And if as with most every investor, I've had picks before that didn't pan out, and every good or bad play you have helps adjust your path in the future. It refines what you're looking for. It helps you find the warning signs in future stocks. So for me, having a large group and my primary mode of communication is my Discord channel. And the Penny Queen Discord has, I think there's about 5,500 people in there. And so we have a continuing conversation going on all of the different companies that are the picks. Some are my picks, other ones aren't. My picks are clear. Everyone's able to tell which ones are mine. They have a little crown on them. But the discussion is the same in all of those communities where we're looking continually at the company, seeing what we can find. People are making best guesses as to where they're going, timelines, all the different catalysts, and everybody's making their own decisions on when they buy, when they leave. Traditionally, I call out a company that I'm looking at. Sometimes I already have a position in it. A lot of times I'm buying in the market with everyone else. When I take a position ahead of time, it's so that I can do it slowly without impacting the stock price. But I don't tell people when to buy or sell. I will tell people when I'm selling because it's my duty as someone who's talking about these companies. But beyond that, everybody is on their own as to how they trade the companies. And it makes a big difference because, small caps are down probably between 50 and 75% over the past 6 to 9 months. And some, I have members that are, up over 40% for the year in the small cap space. And I also have ones that have just ridden down all the way. So I'm not so much about the actual trades. I'm about the discovery. And I'll leave how and when to buy and sell to all the members.
You also have a YouTube channel, right? What's the name of the YouTube channel?
The YouTube channel is Stock Therapy with Penny Queen.
Well, in investing in general, the hardest lessons that we learn are the ones that we experience ourselves, especially the most painful ones. But it's useful to learn from the pain of others. And you have a unique situation in this space because you are involved with Aduro, but you are also involved with Cielo. So when I saw that, I was like, I need to talk to her because there's a lot that we can learn from this. So walk us through like your experience with Cielo, how it compares to Aduro, and then we'll shift more towards Aduro. But I think it's important for people to understand what happened with the other company.
Cielo is a really interesting. It was a really interesting stock for me because the goal and the dream of Cielo was to basically turn trash into fuel. It's a great concept. And if anyone can ever take mixed trash and turn it into fuel, that is an absolute diamond to own. The Cielo journey started for me when somebody in my Discord, which was very small at the time, brought up the company to me. I looked at the chart. I spoke with a couple other people who I consider to be subject matter experts in understanding charts. I have more than a rudimentary knowledge, but I am definitely not an expert. And the decision was made to look into the company. And I did quite a bit of research. And the one thing I could never really prove was that they were going to be successful at volume. And the company went up to right around, I feel like the peak was just about $2. And, this is, I think in a year time span, it may have gone from $10 or 10 cents to $2, right around that range. And we had a huge number of people looking into it, people actually going by the site every day saying whether, the stacks were running or not. And there was a lot of communication that in the end, I feel coming from the company had more positivity than was warranted. So there came a point where I had to say to everyone that was invested that, I didn't like the communication and the broken promises, and that I was going to leave the stock. So I took a lot of heat for that, but in the end, my job is to look for companies that are going to impact the world positively, but to continue to reassess my investment. And while, I'm not giving investment advice because I'm not an investment advisor, I do know that this community that I'm involved in, that they are listening to me, and I'm taking their feedback too. So anytime a company goes on a big run and drops, it's rough. It's rough for everyone. I'm not sure where they're at now. I think it's probably somewhere in the 7 or 8 cent range because they still have the problem of volume. So that company, I hope that they're successful. I hope they figure out what their problems are, but it definitely made me zero in on this area specifically. And when I found Aduro, you could say that I was not in a very trusting state. So I'm in Seattle. I went out to Toronto to meet with the company and to actually go over their technology to make sure that I had a very solid understanding of exactly what they could and could not do. Because I need to make sure that the messaging that goes out to my community, to my friends, is accurate. I put my money on the line, and a lot of them put theirs on the line. So when I started talking about Aduro, it was only after meeting the crew. I met with Ofer, I met with Abe, and what I really needed to be sold on was the integrity of the people behind the company. If you don't have integrity, what do you have? And the biggest thing for me was the way that they had set up their share structure with all of the various milestones. So in order for them to be paid, to get their shares, they have to be moving the company forward, and they'd already designed the path. And I thought it was brilliant. Third-party validation was a really large step in that. And there was no question to me before the third-party validation that the technology worked. But the fact that they wanted somebody else to come in, take a look at this, and say, yes, it is working. The chemistry is good. That was very important for me. And in speaking with them, I know you've met with all of them, and Ofer's very serious, but he's passionate. He has a vision. I personally see Aduro as 3 different companies, or having the potential to be 3 different companies, but using the same technology. The renewable oils, the bitumen upgrading, and the plastics. Upcycling those plastics, being able to reuse that raw material. any one of those verticals, in my opinion, is well worth more than their current market cap. Being able to look at what they could do was very important, because for me, it was also important to tell my community that this is a long-term hold. This isn't the kind of company that people are going to flip for pennies. It's the kind of company that they're going to continue to watch, and when it dips down, they're probably going to buy more. You know, the market will do what the market's going to do, and it provides opportunity in all companies. So it is the kind of company that you need to know intimately, and that helps. You know, it helps maintain sticky investors, where you understand the fundamentals of the company. So if the share price isn't what you want it to be, you're able to see that opportunity rather than, oh, look, I'm losing money. It changes the dynamic that an investor has with a company, having that the faith in what they're doing.
But it takes a lot of time to understand this situation.
It takes a lot of time, and it takes a pretty solid understanding of chemistry. When you know, my background is as a firefighter and lieutenant, so not a great chemical background. I have enough, you know, understanding to balance an equation, but I have to reach out to people that are subject matter experts just to verify things. With the hydrochemolytics, the way they aren't supplying a hydrogen donor, it's novel technology. I think they have 7 patents. I know they haven't all been awarded yet, but they're developing a very solid moat around this technology. And you know, there's several other methods of making these chemical transformations, but what Aduro does is so precise that it spares these long chain hydrocarbons. It's not, you know, destroying them and taking the junk. It is dismantling them and utilizing those parts. It's amazing when you compare it to the other available chemistries in just how much mass is conserved. I know their you know, I don't have their latest investor deck in front of me, but I know the efficiency of their chemistry is so much higher than pyrolysis, and there's a couple other olysis out there that are pretty novel technologies, but this is so far advanced. The downside being is that we're not in this massive commercial state yet. That's the downside, but it's also the opportunity, because this is, you know, the ground floor of this company. And you know, what I appreciate about small cap, and specifically the Canadian market, is that you have the opportunity to look through all of these different technologies and see where they could go, and you know, examine the hurdles. It's not like the big boards in the US where a company's already developed. They've already had the, you know, that big 80% jump, or you know, they've already been through those key opportunities to make money. I want to be in before that happens, and sometimes the cost is, you know, waiting through a year. Sometimes it's a 2-year plan. And with Aduro, I see they're making consistent, steady progress.
You said that on the chemistry side, you had some experts in the subject help you understand. So what, you reached out to some chemists?
I always do. I'm not, you know, if it has to do with how to put out a fire, I will rely on my own expertise. If it's command and control, I've got it. If it has to do with actual technology, you know, I have sweet spots in my knowledge, but I'm never going to rely only on my own knowledge. So I'll call around universities. I'll reach out to friends. I have a pretty large network within my investor community, that sometimes I'll just put out a tweet or a message on Discord, you know, who works in this area, And they're typically not the person I end up talking to, but they're the contact that leads me to someone with greater knowledge.
What I find interesting about Aduro now is that the skepticism, which is good. You need to be skeptical. I was skeptical. It took me 3 weeks to just kind of go from don't talk to me about it to be like, okay, I think there's something there. And so now I see other people going through the same thing, like, oh, it's too good to be true. There's a lot of smart people out there that have been working on this for so long. Like, how come this small no-name company is the one that developed it? Like, you see a lot of that. And obviously you had a lot of that, especially that you had a big mistake with another company. What made you be like, okay, even though I had scars, what was the determining factor that made you be like, okay, I'm going to be involved?
I think the determining factor for me was actually sitting down with Ofer and discussing the chemistry itself and how it can apply, and hearing his honesty when he would say, we think we can do this, but we don't know. When you hear a CEO tell you honestly, we may be able to do this, we may not, and this is how we're going to get there, it really brings in a lot of faith for me. And over that past year, a lot of the things that he had said before, we don't know if we can do this, well, they've been able to do them. So he was open and honest. And now it's at this stage of development that the technology is proven. Scale is what they're working on, and they're bringing in partners. The level of the partners that they have, I think, speaks a lot about them. And so for me, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that my investment in Cielo was bad. If I look at the averages, I think most of my picks, I think my average is about a 300% peak gain. It wasn't a mistake. It was that at one point it went far above what it was currently worth. And that's an important thing for investors to always take a look at. There's a price that you want a company to meet. But if it starts to climb too high before they've hit their milestones, then you're overvalued. And that's the thing. When people get involved with hype, they get so excited, the euphoria of your investment going up. That's why look at the RSI. Always see, is this overbought? Are we all too excited about this? It doesn't make the company bad. It just means that the market is ahead of the value, and that's a time to scale back, take profits, reassess. So, but when all of retail is pumped about something, it leads to prices that don't match the value. So, as a reassessing, looking at the price point where Aduro was, and considering the total addressable market and all the risks along that, there's execution risk, there's social and political risks, there's a lot of things. For me, the value is this a company that's trying to do something I want, which make the world better? I'm a mom of daughters. I want them to have a great world to grow up in. That's one of my check boxes right there. Do I see execution risk? I see a very competent core of employees, engineers that are all very invested in the company, and I see progress. So when I put those things together, it was a buy for me, and it's a long hold. So for a long hold, the price goes down, I buy more. It was a pretty simple decision for me after meeting with them.
What do you see like some of the catalysts or events that are going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months that excite you or that might have a chance to have the company revalued?
I think if Aduro can bring in a major named partner that would be the largest near-term catalyst for them. I pay a lot of attention to where my companies speak. What are where are they presenting and who are they presenting with? And if you take a look at where Aduro's been, it's teeny tiny Aduro with these big name gas and oil companies. That says a lot to me. That tells me that those very prominent companies are seeing Aduro as a peer, and that would be the biggest accomplishment for me is having buy-in from one of the major players in the market.
Well, and then they have a deadline. I love deadlines. I love when somebody else has a deadline, not me.
I love when a company is accountable, and anyone who's met Ofer knows that guy is very, he's got all of his ducks in a row. He's on a mission, and I don't have any doubts in him.
Have you met Mina, the CFO?
I've not met Mina. I've spoken with him before. So
yeah, he's very, very detailed oriented and wants things to get done the right way.
Yeah, and I should say on the financial side, I appreciate how carefully they have deployed their capital. And it's been nice to watch, because I've watched a lot of companies go down these paths of things that seem rather frivolous to me. I mean, they're in the point right now where this is the time that new investors should be looking. In my view, the best time, the easiest time to make money is in a down market. When you find these great companies that are on clearance, and if you prepared for it, it's a great time to take a position and enjoy, the fear that's drenched the market. So, yeah, seeing them be fiscally responsible, moving forward, and I like the price point right now. I'm not gonna lie. I don't mind. I don't mind seeing red when I see that golden opportunity. So I'll take it, and it's been doing quite well lately as well.
I'm so glad you said this about it's so easy to make money in this market, and like I'm trying to convince people, and it's like people either get it or they don't get it. Like, for example, these two books that I wrote. So why are we so clueless about the stock market? In the middle of 2008, 2009 financial crisis. How to profit from coronavirus recession. In the middle of the coronavirus. It's like, I want to shake people. I want to shake people and be like, now is even better. It's like equivalent to those moments. It's like the amount of money that you're going to make is, you can't even imagine how much rich you can get from opportunities now in this market.
I agree, but a lot of times it is difficult to talk with investors who, they've made their picks and ridden a lot of them down. So a lot of people don't have the liquidity that they should right now. This is one of those moments where you can truly capitalize on fear in the market, but you do have to be prepared for it. So this is the moments where I like to reevaluate everything in my portfolio, and if something has changed and I feel that there's greater execution risk or some other instability, if something's down, it's a great time to take that tax loss and then redeploy that capital to where you feel it will be more successful. Those are my methods. As always, never advice, but everyone deals with their own portfolio in a very unique and a lot of times personal way. So not everyone's a robot about it.
And one other thing is you've probably been involved in the small cap space for some time. You went through the boot camp. You went through the volatility boot camp. And for the people that maybe heard about the potential of small caps, and they're going through this the first time, I tell them, enjoy this, because when you survive this boot camp, you're going to be untouchable in the future.
I am almost 100% small caps. There is a ton of volatility in the small cap space, but my view of it is that it is so much easier to figure out what's a real company and what's not. I do that. I've gotten rid of 95% of the companies out there. Maybe they've got a great idea, but they don't have the staff they need to execute. They don't have the knowledge base to make it happen. So then I only have to look at 5% of companies, and they're still going to have volatility, more so than the broader market, because when fear hits the market, it's the small caps where people retreat from first. That provides additional opportunity, because when they go low, they go lower than anything else. So I love small caps because it's an area where I feel like you can truly think your way to profit. A lot of the bigger companies, they don't want to communicate with investor groups. They don't, they just don't communicate as much. And I like the words that I hear in between the other words. So.
And, I just realized something about you that you said at the beginning, because when you are in the small cap space, micro cap space, in a way you're playing with fire, but that's your background, right?
I think I may have a risk tolerance.
You've been playing with fire for years, like real fire. This is like a walk in the park for you.
I've heard people refer to small caps as a roller coaster ride. And I just think, well, that sounds like a lot of fun. But if you can stomach the volatility, it's really easy to make a lot. I think my first year in the market was I went 18x on my portfolio, and I thought, hey, maybe there's something to this. And I realized pretty quickly that it isn't a guessing game. And there's a lot of skills that you need to have, but everybody has the one thing that they're good at. And if you figure out what that is and really go after it, the market's a beautiful place. And the amount of opportunity, being able to buy and sell, there's a lot of other investments in the world that can make you a lot of money, but it is a slow and steady process with much greater commitment level. You can't buy and sell a house in a day. You can buy and sell any of these companies 5 times in a day if you choose. So,
but talking about opportunities, one other thing is that if you think about somebody like Offer here, he lives and breathes this company. Okay, he spent his entire adult life betting on this company, right? So he didn't become somebody else, some professional or whatever. This is what he's betting on, right? His entire net worth. And we can just come in and buy ourselves into this passion, into all of his work, and he does all the work, and we get all the benefits, and we get to complain a bit from here to here. I mean, that is wonderful, don't you think?
I absolutely do. And that's why I'm careful to say I'm not an expert on anything. I prefer the jack of all trades method, where I can find the experts and I can invest in them. I invest in technology. I invest in CEOs. Very easy. It does not take a PhD to do that. So I got to spend my time in college, maybe partying a little more than Ofer did.
Okay. Do you have any final thoughts on Aduro that you would like to leave my listeners with?
Well, I mean, I'm happy that you have picked up the company and introduced it to other people, but I don't want any of them to forget that's my baby. So be very gentle with your shares. Dig in and try and come up with the total addressable market for just one of their verticals. And I think you will see their current share price as an absolute pittance compared to where it can be. And remember that this isn't a 6-month hold. In my mind, it's not a 1-year hold. This is a company that has the potential to provide lifetime of returns. So it can be a major player. There's a couple pieces left of the puzzle, and that's why you're getting it at such a cheap price right now. So really dig into it, do your own due diligence, and I think if you dig in on your own, you'll be even more sold on the company.
Well, that was a fantastic chat. So thank you very much for doing this.
Oh, yeah, thanks for talking with me. And again, I'm really happy that you saw in Aduro what I do.